That's cool.
So guys, when the Europeans arrived, they brought with them European weapons. Right?
Wow.
They brought guns, cannons,
Wow.
Really?
King Kamehameha. He was the first Ali'i to acquire an arsenal of Western weaponry.
Is that a bayonet?
Now, he used these weapons, right, to conquer the Hawaiian Islands. Except for Kauai and Ni'ihau. He did that kind of political agreement right here. Right, so when the Europeans showed up with these new weapons, which meant power, right, so another significant event. So we have rifles, long rifles. One here next to a fishhook, Macau. It could be Maui's, right? Here's another rifle. And then over here is another rifle. And there is a dead man next to it.
What?
So again, these weapons brought much death. So we have the feminine petroglyphs, achieve balance to the area, stop the dying, too much masculine energy essentially. But guys, all the petroglyphs are not located right here. There's over 1,000 throughout the park. So when you're walking the trails, keep an eye out for petroglyphs. Remember, you don't want to step on them, you don't want to take rubbings or touch them or anything, you know, because we want them to last. They're just degrading over time, and the more we touch them, then we lose them. So this is our history, and we want to protect it and preserve it. So guys, do you guys have any questions? You guys are POW? Yeah.
One question.
Yeah.
Why did they make a picture of it? Why did they make a picture of it?
So it's basically to record significant events, right? The birth of a child, right? You may have seen these at Pu'uloa, where you have the puka with a concentric circle, right? The newborn's piko goes into the puka. If it's a girl and she grows up and has a baby, there's a circle around it, and they put her piko there, right? And so eventually you get a bullseye where there's lots of concentric circles, right? A long family. So now you have a family tree, right? You got ancestry DNA, right? Well, this is how you recorded your history. We have history books. You guys go to school. This is the Hawaiian history book, right here. So if it wasn't significant, you wouldn't spend all this time. What's your question?
How did they make it?
So this is pahoihoi. The surface of the pahoihoi is the lightest, right? So they would use harder stones. A lot of times they would use Hawaiiite. Did you guys know that Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa were covered in glaciers at least 3 separate times? The glaciers were hundreds of feet thick.
What glaciers? Glaciers of ice?
Glaciers of ice covered Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa. The last time, about 10 to 12,000 years ago, end of the ice age.
Is that the last ice age?
That's the last ice age.
Oh.
Before that, it was about 120,000 years ago. And there's at least one more ice age before that, as the planet, heats up and cools down. Right? So when the summits of these mountains were covered in ice, they were still active. The last time Mauna Kea erupted was around 4,000 years ago. Right? So these eruptions occurred under thick sheets of ice and forced the lava to cool very rapidly, creating the hardest material available to the Hawaiians. Right? And they used this material. It's kind of like them discovering iron. Right? They would make these these axes. They would cut down trees, dig out canoes, make tikis. They started discovering these quarries. There's also one of these quarries on Haleakala. Around 1200 AD, they started discovering them. And then that basically enhanced their ability to manipulate the environment, but also they would use it for petroglyphs. Now also the Hawaiians would have these pump drills, right? And the pump drills, dig holes in wood, but also holes in rock. Right, so you could have shell, bone, or rock. It almost looks like a fire starter. You have one piece of wood like this, another piece of wood like this, connected with cordage, coconut, right? And you spin it together, and you pump it like this. And just like in a power drill, modern day, well, this was an ancient Hawaiian power drill.
So they would just...
Once the Europeans showed up, they started using nails, but they would also use these rocks found under the glaciers. Geologists today call it Hawaiiite.
Wait, how would they make the drill, the pump drill?